So I'm here with Chris Graham, and we were just talking about paddling
and steroids.
And
But not connected.
Not connected. No, is there steroids in paddling?
I'm sure some people do it. But it's so much more about the technique. So when I was racing in Hawaii, the team that did the best in one of the races was a bunch of 70-year-old guys. Because they understand what they're doing.
Well, these are 7-year-old Hawaiian guys.
Yeah,
they're basically
Tahitians. Tahitians are
they're amphibious creatures.
Tahitians are born and bred to paddle.
It's like they're like the Kenyans of paddling.
To a greater degree.
Yeah, they have like just this enormous upper body.
They have never lost certain races. You have to think about a sport where they have been. That is how they got there. That's how they eat, sleep, like. That's how what their whole life focuses around.
It's their core competency, basically.
Yeah, if you can't paddle in Tahiti, you're done.
And that's just a bunch of fat Samoans.
No, most of them don't look athletic. If you look up a photo of them right now, like, I'm not saying that they're fat, but some of them are not in the best shape.
They're 70 and they've got like that old dad bod thing.
Oh yeah.
Is there like a weight limit? You know how like fighting's love?
No, but you can definitely get an advantage. So there's a local dragon boat race here, and at one time I'm with a youth club, so we competed. Our boat was a full foot higher out of the water.
Is that a good thing? Or?
Yes, it's a great thing. Because if you imagine the amount of drag you're not having, and the amount of weight you're not having to carry, when you're a full foot out of the water compared with everyone else, you're gonna gain a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I feel like I can see that being an advantage. How much of a factor is endurance?
So there are a couple different types of paddling. The main one I do is called outrigger canoe. So that's how they got to Hawaii. That's how they got to Tahiti. Mm-hmm. So endurance is kind of important. When your race is a sprint is 6K.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a sprint?
Not in most sports.
Is that like how long it takes for your muscles just to get riddled with lactic acid and you start?
No, lactic acid's about 100 meters.
Huh?
Yeah.
So you're running for 6 kilometers, which is 6,000 meters.
Yeah. But you're not pushing. So there's 3 energy systems. You've got this tiny amount of built up ATP. So if you see like an Olympic weightlifter, that's what they're using. And then you see an Olympic sprinter, right?
Okay, so you've got, isn't it that fast twitch, short twitch on their other muscles?
Yeah. Or like a fighter, if they do like a flying knee or something, that's just that burst that is stored up in your body.
Speaking of flying knees, see that one guy get his head caved in?
Which one?
Are you familiar with the UFC?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Cyborg, that
yeah.
freak of a woman. She looks like...
Talk about steroids.
She looks like a Neanderthal. She looks like she looks like a Klingon. That's what she looks like. Some sort of a Klingon and a chimpanzee had sex. She looks like a man.
Yeah. That's
her ex-husband, whom also goes by Cyborg, because it's a sweet-ass name.
Yeah.
Basically, he was going in for a takedown, because he's great at grappling. Going in for a takedown on a guy. The other guy runs, jumps, and knees him in the face and caves his head in.
Ooh. Aren't like half of the Brazilian fighters nicknamed Cyborg?
Oh god, so many of them are nicknamed Cyborg. They all have names that start with C's and have a lot of vowels in them.
Yeah, anyway, so you've got, and then like Olympic sprinters, they're gonna have that lactic acid. And then you get into cardio. So our shortest races are about 6K. At a certain distance, you get into what's actually called change races. So you've got 6 seats in a boat, but 9 people on your team.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a safety boat that will drop people off like 50 meters in front of you every like 10 minutes. And you switch.
So you just hop from one boat into the other?
No. You're in the water. 3 people will jump out as you jump in. It takes about 3 seconds for a really good team.
Does it usually capsize?
No.
Because I can see someone like me just dragging it down from one side like, I don't know, the Kraken.
So the people getting in have the stabilizing side. So an outrigger has an outrigger, which helps stabilize it.
Yeah, that's
like a pontoon.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting in on that side, so they're pulling it down a bit into the water to stabilize it.
And they're pulling it down. And this is presumably from the right side or whatever side.
The left side.
Okay, whatever side.
As they get in. And the other people, and this is the hard part, you have to do a vertical jump and then go sideways and land without touching the boat since you've jumped. Otherwise, you can flip it or push it around and get someone hit in the head.
How much water do you usually get in the boat after this?
Not
Is there just one guy with a milk jug who's like haphazardly? He's doing it with one hand. He has like a milk jug that he's cut in half. He's like, God damn it, I didn't put the cap on. It's all coming out one end.
But the biggest races, the biggest long race is in California, and it's 100 kilometers. 100 kilometers.
Do they go from one city to the other, or is it a circular?
They go from like an island to another. Or
so they go from
or something. Anyway,
Alcatraz.
It's called Catalina, so it's around Catalina, but I don't know where that is. So, anyway, and that takes them about 6 hours to do.
Yeah.
Switching every 10 minutes, so you get a lot of pull-ups in. But. And then you got like stupid races where it's like, let's race from California to Hawaii.
That isn't a race. That's a marathon.
Yay.
That isn't even a marathon.
That's an ultra marathon of a couple of.
Would they notice if you just got your canoe, jumped out, went into a yacht, got in, and then just sort of appeared at one end and the other? You see people do that in basically if you have some sort of a marathon that's in a circle, they'll just go across.
Talk about something that's really hard, like ultra marathons.
Those are absurd.
The Barkley and things.
They just
where they go in loops and then other loops and.
It's those like there's these mountain marathons where the people they're just running uphill for kilometers on end. It's like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I've never been someone who's very good at running.
I can't run for shit. I can build up a lot of momentum though.
Tackle them to the ground.
That's my main strategy. If I ever get into a fight, I just have to run real fast. I'm the juggernaut, bitch. You sidestep me, I'm out of luck. It's like a chariot. You just run to the side.
Yeah. Like, so I don't think there are that many steroids in that type of paddling. Obviously, you then get into the paddling that's done at the Olympics, and there you can have a bit more discussion.
Yeah, because some of those people have forearms that look like a T-Rex's thighs.
Also, you don't normally see their legs, but if you see their legs, they're giant because you're pushing off with your leg to twist your entire body.
It's like throwing a punch. There's more to it than just arm strength or pitching.
You're going through your legs into your hips, into your body, twisting your body, and your arms are just like strings holding it onto whatever you're doing.
Yeah. It's kind of strange seeing these athletes with these really weird different body types, like I mentioned before in the audio that got cut because I didn't plug in the microphone. The 5'9" female gymnasts or the jockeys.
You mean 4'9"?
4'9". 5'9" would be slightly tall. 4'9", little Peter Dinklage. Or then you have those basketball players who their arms are like bull whips. Yeah. Have you seen a picture of Manute Bol?
I don't think so.
His arms, they look like two uncooked hot dogs.
Well, I don't know if you saw there was a German cyclist who had giant legs and then tiny upper body. Like, you get it. You're not using your arms cycling, but just bigger than Olympic.
Even it out, douche.
Even bigger than Olympic weightlifters' legs. Like, he had bodybuilder-sized legs.
Well, then he was on steroids.
Oh, they're all on steroids. Like, cycling's one of the dirty sports.
Well, that's the thing. They had Lance Armstrong. He got stripped of his medals. The problem is that almost everyone who crossed the finish line was also on steroids.
Yeah, wasn't it 18th place if they wanted to have someone who they was pretty
And that person was probably on steroids. He just hit it better.
No, someone that they could actually go back and prove more that they weren't on steroids.
Probably
18th place. Everyone else was cheating. The time that Lance Armstrong had his best performance, his comeback year, where he was probably juicing the most. So he took third. That was his best year because other people were taking even more steroids.
Jesus Christ. I remember I saw this documentary. It was about cycling because it was something that I was into at one point. I used to go to the school Oak and Orca. I'm sure you've heard of it at some point. Maybe it's a really.
There are too many schools.
There's probably you probably know like a pot dealer from there, just some burnout. The teachers, they were the stoners from the beginning of Super Troopers. Would have ate the enormous bag of weed. But I used to go there, and we would do these cycling trips across Victoria every day, and I was in really good shape, and I was like 10, and I could probably cycle with your average adult.
Right.
And I watched this documentary, and there's a scene where this guy is like, he's almost scolding this person on how he isn't taking enough juice. They always refer to it as juice, as opposed to steroids or roids.
Well, and then they also call it gear.
Why do they call it gear?
Because it sounds nicer.
They always call it juice, and then you hear, like, the aforementioned UFC thing. There was a UFC fighter, Chael Sonnen, who had 6 things in his system, and he said, yeah, I have more juice in me than Tropicana.
He's very good at talking.
He is. He's not a very good fighter, though.
He's a very good wrestler.
He's a pretty good wrestler, but
that's about it. Well,
yeah.
He's getting pretty old.
Well, he is. He's old. I mean, his most recent fight with was it with... who was his last fight with? The one where he and the other guy were both caught for steroids afterwards.
That was in Bellator, right?
Yeah, I think it might have been Bellator. The only reason he gets fights is because he's an incredible promoter.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much the gist of it.
To fight Conor McGregor.
It's really impressive. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's just going to run in there out of his mind on blow. Just, I'm the Irish Fury. I'm Scotland's pride. Ireland's pride. I don't know which. Oh, God. Did you see? He apparently beat up a mobster.
Oh, yeah, I heard about
He's got a hit out on him. So he isn't fighting, and he's trying to get he and his girlfriend and his baby out to friggin' like the United States because he's got a hit on him from some Irish mobster. Yeah.
Smart life choices.
Smart life choices, absolutely. He hasn't fought since 2016. He fought Mayweather and got his ass kicked by a man who's fucking 40. He's 41 years old. He is an old fart, and he got his ass kicked by him. And
well, I mean, isn't Yoel Romero 40? And he's talk about another person who's on steroids.
Of course he's on juice. Those things make you younger. There's a lot of people who are on steroids. There's a lot of steroids in the UFC, and I feel like...
Well, and then there was the other study, I forget who it was by, but anonymously asking Olympic athletes, are you on juice? What percent of them said they were?
One of them is probably just like, yeah, what do you think? This isn't heroin. If I had to guess, 79%?
Bit lower. Two-thirds admitted they were on steroids anonymously.
Huh.
That's the people who aren't in such denial that they're denying it anonymously.
Yes, Mother Russia gave me a bit of steroids. That was a horrible Russian accent.
Well, and then when you go to Russia, it's higher.
It's higher?
Oh, for sure. Think about it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the pitch of the accent.
No.
They had the glory hole that they were putting fake... I can't remember if they were putting the steroids through that little hole in the wall they had, or if they were putting fresh piss for testing.
They were sending the tainted stuff, the stuff with the steroids out, and then they were switching it out and sending it back in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like in the UFC and the Olympics and just so many sports in general, there's almost a blind eye for steroids.
I mean, the UFC is actually interesting, because if you look at... I would almost... Even though there's so many people who are clearly taking something, right?
There are some of them that are just...
Who aren't caught. But they do seem to be one of the few organizations that actually, takes the most action, right? Against their biggest stars.
Yeah.
Right, you look at John Jones. Giant star.
Yeah, I mean,
he could be done. Completely done.
I wouldn't be surprised if he is, realistically. I mean, the last, 2 of his fights, he's been busted several times for steroids.
Yeah.
He's a dick, first and foremost.
Yeah.
He was threatening to kill Daniel Cormier before their fight, where he kicked him in the head and started beating the shit out of him.
But I mean, giant star, right?
Yeah.
And, again, he could easily be done.
Yeah. Yoel Romero, Yoel, I'm not really sure what it is. It's one of those.
Yoel.
Yoel Romero, Chris Cyborg, John Jones, Brock Lesnar, and even some of the people the UFC hires, like Joe Rogan's on HGH, although that is fair because he's like 48 or something. Dana White, he probably is on steroids.
Well, see, I would like to just see the steroid league, right? Like, do whatever you want. You sign a waiver saying, I'm signing my life away.
You sign your death warrant.
Exactly. I'm fine. I know my opponent's going to be taking all this stuff. I'm going to be taking all this stuff. We're going to go ham. And then I'd like to see the league where it is completely clean, right? And if you get caught, you're banned forever.
What I want to see is a bunch of freak matchups, like 7 Ronda Rouseys versus a Brock Lesnar. That'd be funny. I feel like what happens is, one, Brock Lesnar is going to punch Ronda Rousey and then break her head because he's freakish strong. That man's like a gorilla.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are going to cry and contemplate suicide for a while, like Ronda Rousey did when Amanda Nunes... Was it Amanda Nunes? No, it was Holly Holm after she ruined her winning streak.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I want to see? Brock Lesnar versus Francis Ngannou.
Who the hell is that? I don't think I've heard that name.
The guy with the hardest punch in the world.
Is he still alive? Oh, right, that guy. He has the freakishly strong punch.
Yeah. I want to see that fight. Just two people who should not exist. Like, even with steroids, they shouldn't work.
Brock Lesnar looks like a chimpanzee.
Talk about another thing about one that's strong. Chimpanzees are terrifying.
How is it they're that strong? Like, because if you look at
their muscles are just like steel.
Is it like the density?
I think it's that.
It's got.
This is not like me having scientific knowledge of it, but my guess is they have. It's all lean type muscle, right? So, women are humans are more prone to building that type of muscle, and guys build more bulky muscle. I think they've got sort of a mix where they can have this really lean, powerful muscle for its size, but they also get a lot of it.
Well, they also just like. Have you ever seen a shaved chimp?
Oh, they're terrifying.
The weakest chimp is like an incredible shape human.
Yeah.
They are in incredible shape. I feel like it's also the fact that they're not necessarily, they are stronger, most assuredly.
Yeah.
But they also put 100% in everything. They have no fine motor skills, which is why you see them try to pick something up and they'll break it.
I'm pretty sure it was like, there was a 200-pound chimp that lifted more than the world's strongest man.
Probably. It's a chimpanzee. Well,
the world's strongest man weighs 400 pounds.
How? Is this a deadlift? Is this a squat? Or is it a bench? Because I know on bench, the most weight lifted was, I want to say it was a shade over 1,000 pounds. But
no, it would not be that heavy.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Or at least without like a stupid, so they like raise their chest up.
Yeah, it's one of those benches where they put their arms really far apart so they have no distance. They look like, you ever seen Frank Reynolds, or not Frank Reynolds, Danny DeVito?
Maybe.
He's this tiny little manlet. He's like 4'11". He's just got these tiny arms, and it's like a T-Rex deadlifting.
Like the world's strongest heaviest deadlift was like 1,114 pounds.
Okay, that seems about right because there's a lot of. I feel like your arms in a deadlift are really just there to hold it. Your legs and lift with your legs because those are the strongest muscles in the human body.
Yeah, and don't lift with your back.
Always lift with your back. Never skip back day. See this? I bleach my teeth with actual bleach. Call it white trash life hacks.
No.
I don't need a garbage. I just put things outside and let the raccoons eat them. So I had an enormous bag of popcorn that I didn't feel like eating, so I just tossed it outside. It was squirming with rats and vermin.
One of the funniest stories, so I don't know if you know this guy, C.T. Fletcher.
Oh, yeah, that dunce.
So he's a powerlifter, right?
Yeah.
And when he was
a powerlifter.
Yeah. He's needing his second open heart surgery.
He needs a heart transplant. This is not an open heart surgery. He needs a new heart.
Anyway, not good for him. But people are asking him, like, did you compete clean? So he said, I tried steroids. The one thing, and I stopped, because the one thing more important to me than lifting weights is sex. And it does not do a good job with that. So he stopped. So he won According to him, because of that, he won all his world titles clean.
The one time he talked about how he was so jacked because they usually inject it into their ass cheek for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Because it's the biggest muscle in the body.
Oh, so they go, is it in the bloodstream or is it directly in the muscle?
I don't know. Anyway, you want the biggest muscle in the body.
He injected it into his ass cheek,
Yeah.
and the needle bent, apparently, which seems feasible on account of the fact that he was doing an ungodly amount of steroids. He needs a new heart. 2 open heart surgeries.
Well, no, it's partially. Do you know what he ate for lunch?
McDonald's. He ate.
How much McDonald's was he eating?
I don't know. His competing name probably should have just been Big Mac.
So he said, for lunch, every day when he was competing, he had 2 Big Macs, plus like the biggest drink, plus a McDonald's apple pie. Every single lunch.
How many lunches does he have?
No, like every single day for lunch.
Okay, because is this like a body lifter thing where it's like, yeah, I eat 18 meals a day. I basically
every 2 hours.
I eat every 20 minutes. I wake up in the middle of the night and start downing hard-boiled eggs. It's like Rocky Balboa. He just wakes up with an enormous mug of eggs and just...
Not desirable.
Did you see the video on Reddit of the guy, this little Asian fellow, drank 57 eggs in 12 seconds?
No.
He had 5 enormous beer steins full of eggs, each with like a carton's worth of eggs in them, and he drank them all in 12 seconds. I think that the way he did it is he just opens his throat, and then the yolk, because eggs, it sort of forms this like contiguous sort of semi... If you've ever like played with a hard-boiled egg or something, it's sort of this weird lol squid liquid solid type thing.
Yeah.
And it's not like a liquid. It just sort of goes in one big motion.
Yeah.
It's like swallowing dough. It's like raw dough. You ever had those bullshit food supplements that's like, I don't know, I think 100% food and soylent are 2 of them?
I don't think so.
When I was on my ADHD medication for the first time, see, I used to be really skinny. And then I, realized that goddamn pizza's delicious and exercise sucks. They put me on this bullshit food supplement. It was like drinking batter. It was like Quickcrete. Or cement. That's what it was. You'd use it to fill in a pothole. It was like eating bread dough. Not cookie dough, like that nasty bread dough. It's like the same consistency as that. You ever had a newborn do that spit up on your shoulder?
Yeah.
It's like that consistency. That stuff was disgusting. So they basically put me on formula because I was losing so much weight. And I was a complete douche if I didn't have my pills.
The weirdest food, so I remember there's this race from Victoria to Alaska every year. So it is either man-powered or sail-powered, basically.
Oh, it's a boat race.
On the water, yeah. And last year there was a guy who did it on a sub, stand-up paddleboard. Okay. Well, you can't take much food on a stand-up paddleboard. So we had the nutrition wafers. Have you ever tried one of those things? They're terrible. You stick it on your tongue.
And it dissolves.
And that's about it.
I think we have some in my mom's glove box in the case that we ever get stuck in Alaska. Yeah. I just imagine him with the paddle, and he's got a spear on one end and a paddle on the other, and in case he sees something swimming by, like the Alaskan... I don't know, maybe puts a little bird seed on the front of the board and then just stabs a seagull and starts eating it.
Seagulls are gross.
You've tried eating a gull?
No, but if you've ever seen a dead one.
Yeah, one time I'm not exactly proud of this, but I did do it. I may or may not have been playing around with a dead seagull's corpse at one point. I was at that aforementioned school, Okanoorka, and I found a seagull's corpse. And I just started playing with it, tossing it around, hitting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think what they eat, right? Like they're eating.
They're trash birds.
And they are like raccoons.
They're trash birds, except raccoons are cute and endearing. Like that video, did you see it? It was.
Raccoons can be. They can also be terrifying.
My neighbor shot a raccoon with a paintball gun a bunch of times when it was in his trash. That was goddamn hilarious.
I don't think that's legal.
I don't think it is either, but. It was hilarious nonetheless. Just riddled that thing with a paintball gun. But you ever seen the video? It's the raccoon. He gets some cotton candy. And it's sort of raccoons, they wash off their food.
Yeah.
Gets some cotton candy, eats it. Ooh, this is good. Goes to do its washing off ritual in like a little fountain. And there's this saddening look of despair on its eyes when the raccoon's favorite treat, cotton candy, dissolves in its hand. It's like, no! It's like the Midas touch. Oh, God, I feel bad for some raccoons. There are some animals that I feel bad for and others that I don't. Like pigs and cattle. I feel bad for them. I don't give a damn about chickens. Those are stupid birds. They're only alive because we let them live. They're dumb birds, and I don't really care how many people eat them. You ever feel bad for some animals?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, my aunt's a cat vet, so we foster lots of little kittens. Oh, they're adorable, right? Like just tiny balls of fur that just. We probably fostered since 2011 300 plus kittens.
Wait. Oh shit, you're like it's like me with foster kids. Like, yeah, since 2011 we've had 30 foster kids. They just keep popping them out one after another. They never stop breeding. They're like the xenomorphs.
I mean, humans don't really stop breeding, do they?
Well, we don't. My general thought is if you're dumb enough to have your kid end up in foster care, you're not dumb enough to put on a rubber. Or you're not smart enough to put on a rubber.
Generally, I'd agree.
Yeah, because there are some people, like I had a foster sibling. I'm not going to say his name. Let's call it, because I'm probably going to upload this to the Discord and whatnot. Let's call him James. Little James. James's dad, Trevor Dunce, he had 11 kids.
Yeah.
That's a lot of kids from like 10 different moms. Paid child support for none of them. It's like the U.S. national debt thing just keeps going up. It's absurd. Yeah.
Yeah, no, some people. Well, and then it like just cycles, right?
It really does. Like most of the foster kids.
It's not a very.
Their foster parents have been in foster care. It's like when you see police reports from the 70s.
Yeah.
Like there was a Baltimore police officer. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's talking about police reports from the 70s and how the exact same crimes are happening at the exact same place with the exact same people. And it's been that way for 70 years, or not 70 years, like 48 years at this point. And it's been that way for an ungodly amount of time.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of this cycle that keeps continuing.
Yeah, no, the system is not a very fair one.
It's not a very good one either.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, the police system or the foster system for that matter. Because most of the time, like, we've had a couple foster kids who've just been back and forth.
Yeah.
Several times, like half a dozen times. Yeah.
Wait, they've just gone, like, they're ping pong ball? Just going back?
They ping pong ball, yeah. So one, we had her when I was about 8.5 when we first had her. And she just sort of ping-ponged for a while. Now she's upping back with her mom. Yeah.
See, that doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's kind of strange when a kid has their Sandy mom, it's my mom,
right,
and their other mom. It's got two moms. This is not a lesbian relationship. It just doesn't know which one is which.
Going back to steroids for a second. One of the funny things that I find when people are from the U.S. are like complaining about people taking steroids, and fair enough. But then you think about how much hormone is in U.S. milk.
Oh my God, that stuff.
Their puberty is hitting younger and younger.
It's astonishing. Like, you have 9-year-old girls who are hitting puberty. Like, naturally, females hit puberty earlier than males.
Yeah.
But it is astonishing the rate, because
well,
Americans hit it so much faster.
Yeah, well, you're getting, like, 11-year-old boys who are hitting puberty.
Yeah, they have your beard, and they're 11. Their limbs are all long and gangly, and they're like, oh, I talk like this all the time. Their voice is constantly cracking.
And then also you have to think about what hormones do, right? Like, they make you build more muscle, and they make you burn fat faster, and they make you grow taller.
Some of the things don't always work that way, because there are some hormones that they put in the cow. It's all about the cow that you get the milk from. Like a lot of like it's they call it mares in the case of cows. Like you have a steer and a whatever the female cows are called. They don't give them the hormones that produce muscle and less fat. They give to the male cows. Yeah. So it's more like a health conscious type thing. They do the opposite with the female cows. They want them to produce lots of fat because they're going to be producing milk constantly, so they don't want them to starve.
But it's a thing of you basically set up a nationwide system for distributing hormones to people.
Like milk. Even the prospect of drinking milk, it gets a gag to a certain extent. Like, oh, humans are the only animals that drink the milk of other animals. Yeah, that's kind of strange. I mean, something like 70% of the population is lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
And we still have to pasteurize the milk. It's not safe for us to drink. It's only safe if you're 30% of the population and it's been pasteurized.
Yeah.
Like,
well, but again, it's weird because you think about, especially, so you've got hormones in the U.S. milk. What percent of the U.S. is probably drinking milk when they're young, right?
Almost all of it. That's something they always show kids, like drink milk, build bones.
Let's be generous. Let's say 80%.
Yeah, seems fair.
I think it's probably a bit higher.
Probably, because when you consider the populations where lactose intolerance occurs, it's very rare among Caucasians.
So, about 8% of the U.S. population drinking milk.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people taking it, right? When it basically all has hormones in it.
Pretty much. You're just giving your little kid roids, and he hits puberty at 6. You've got him. He's just like getting Lego blocks, putting them in a bin, and lifting them. Making little like Lego deadlifting sets.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, like human beings really, I don't see why we don't just drink something like soy milk, because milk's bad for you even without the hormones. Like there's just a ton of fat in it. We put a ton of sugar in milk.
Well, it also partially depends what you're wanting to do, right? And this is one of the weird things I find with people talking about diet, right?
Yeah.
What someone who's preparing to be a gymnast and what someone who's preparing to be a weightlifter should eat are not the same.
Shockingly, I know.
But everyone thinks it is the same.
Pretty much. And then you just get some asshole who's like, calories in, calories out, bro. It's like, oh, fuck off.
But it's really weird when people are going, yeah, you need to eat like this tiny portion. And it's like, no, this guy is lifting 300 pounds, like, repeatedly, and this other person is trying to do pull-ups.
Exactly. Well, it's all about the foods you're supposed to eat. Like, you should eat a lot of legumes and stuff if you're a cyclist. You want food that you don't burn a lot of calories. You have it basically, it's endurance food.
Yeah.
You want fuel, like that long-term stuff if it's an endurance sport like cycling is.
Yeah.
If you're weightlifting, you want that burst strength, you know?
Yeah.
So you want to down like a nice jug of milk every...
Especially, like, you're wanting energy to hit your system as fast as possible. There are very few times when I think people can agree on what you should be, like, eating. And also proportions, right?
Yeah.
Like,
also,
the other thing is, I should not, right, I'm 200 pounds. I should not be eating the same amount as someone here who's 100 pounds and who doesn't work out.
Pretty much.
Because otherwise, that's not going to work out very well for me, or they're eating way too much food.
Or either just, it's when you see those people who it's like, you eat like a pig, and your metabolism is just so fast.
Yeah.
It's like they're constantly, like, they're just doing blow when no one's looking, like, woo, my metabolism is fast. I don't like coffee, so I've started just swallowing coffee beans every morning. Like, literally this morning, I got a handful of coffee beans and just drank them. It tastes disgusting.
Why do you do it?
Well, I kind of need caffeine. I only got like 6 hours of sleep last night.
Oh, okay.
And plus, it makes your metabolism faster. It's like when you smoke to lose weight.
Great.
I've heard people do that with dip, where basically, it was another podcast, oddly enough, quite fond of podcasts.
Right.
And one of the guys was talking about how he had a hockey team member, and this person really liked dip, tobacco chew, real popular in the South. But the coach wouldn't let him consume it on the ice, because he'd always be spitting in that nasty-ass spit jug, the spittoon or whatever it's called. So he would get the tobacco chew, which if you've seen it, it looks a bit like eraser shavings and crude oil.
Yeah.
It is disgusting. And he'd literally smear it over his foot because it would get absorbed through the skin, the nicotine.
No.
It's like a nicotine patch. Which begs the question, why didn't he get a nicotine patch? Did I ever tell you about my one incredibly fat neighbor? Her name was Randy. Last name was Battersby.
No.
Because Battersby, her favorite food. We used to make fun of her and call her Macho Man Randy Savage, but she was a grown-ass woman. She can take it. She was this fat heifer, and she was one time had 2 patches, was chewing nicotine gum and chain smoking.
All at the same time?
All at the same time. Her heart was like on the brink of exploding.
People aren't very smart.
No, we just, as human beings, we sort of find something that we like and we take it to the extreme, you know? Like we like moving around, so some guy gets a wild hair up his ass and decides roller coasters.
Really. But it's strange what people are willing to do, right? So there's another type of drug called SARMs, okay?
Don't think I've heard of that.
Anyway, not quite as effective allegedly as steroids. They've only started testing them on animals. They're not approved for human consumption. These are the main points.
Well,
they allegedly don't have any. Most of them allegedly don't have any downsides, which doesn't really exist, right? Like everything probably has a downside.
Yeah, I mean steroids, you have tons of downsides.
Yeah. So people are taking them when they have not been approved for human consumption, when they have only started testing them on other animals. They just discovered that one of the most powerful ones causes cancer really, really consistently.
It's not one of those things where, like, yeah, it might, but, you know, correlation doesn't equal causation. No, it gives you cancer.
I think it's like a 90-something% chance that if you take this, you will get cancer.
Jesus Christ.
Like, that's what they found in mice.
Oh, well.
But still, it has a lot of follow-through, right?
Yeah.
So, imagine taking something so that you'll be stronger very briefly, right? Like, maybe for your like 20s
you have to take the SAR.
20 and 30s. And then after that, you get cancer. Oh, sign me up.
Well, you have to take the SARS to counteract the chemo SARMs. Is it an acronym for something? Like
yes, but I don't
strength,
remember what
something
it is.
or other, radical.
It has to do with like changing how your body produces stuff.
So you have to take the SARMs to counteract the chemo medication. You see, you're like a deadlifting, and you lift it up, and your hair just starts falling out.
Did you hear the one person who was claiming that cancer made her physically stronger, and that you should try and get cancer because it will make you physically stronger?
Are you shitting me?
No, I am not.
You sure it was cancer?
Yeah.
And you sure she said physically?
Yeah.
What did she get cancer from? Oh, yeah, I got cancer. Turns out it's not a good idea to drink a nice tall glass of lead paint every morning. Does this lady subsist on lead paint and stupid pills?
I don't know. There's a lot of really stupid things, right? There was the trend of, especially in guys, right? Because there's the image of you need to have all these really cut muscles, right?
Well, those people, when they get cut muscles, they only keep that for a couple days.
And they're at their weakest point.
They're at their weakest. They're dehydrated.
Yeah,
first and foremost.
You've got basically no water weight. You have basically nothing, right, on you. For a point of reference,
you look like
especially a clean person who's cutting.
You look like a piece of tanned leather.
There was a clean powerlifter who competed in a bodybuilding competition. As a powerlifter, he weighed 220 pounds.
Yeah.
Which is pretty big for a clean one.
Substantial. Like, how tall is he?
I don't know. Doesn't really matter. When he was on stage for a natural bodybuilding competition, he weighed 145 pounds.
That ain't healthy.
That's tiny. He went straight from being a powerlifter.
Well, they lose a ton of muscle mass.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so guys have this whole image that you only have these cut muscles. So at one point, people went, you know how you get muscle? Protein, right? So we're just going to eat protein powder.
Oh, God.
Well, those guys didn't last very long.
These idiots who just... I don't know what they're doing. They're just snorting protein powder.
No, they would just like eat that.
I've seen some people, they'll do this thing. They just get a spoonful of it and down it. They just sort of muddle it up. It's like baby formula to them. They just muddle it up and like.
Well, and people also don't really look at it, right? Like, so for protein powder, you need to have some. You don't actually get most of it. You need to have something else to make it absorb it. So you're not. If you eat a bunch of protein powder, most of it you're just gonna piss right out.
Right. That's why they get that absurd, weird, green, murky piss that ain't healthy. I'm pissing green, bro. This ain't good. I haven't had any Gatorade.
But there's also really weird things that make your body better. So going back to when I was at this conference.
Like cancer.
No, that actually make your body better. So when I was at this conference, they were talking about, and this is only for high-level athletes, right? So for someone like me, I'm not going to be taking it. It's not worthwhile. They're taking
it's also just not
baking
healthy.
soda.
Huh?
So
they're cutting it. It's like cocaine to them. They gotta man.
So they eat it. They're figuring out the best way to have it is just with some water.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have. They figured out the best amount to have, and this is just before competition. Okay. The 0.3 grams of it, which is per kilogram of body weight.
That doesn't sound healthy.
Right? So let's say you're about 100 kilograms.
Use 0.3 grams. You could just use milligrams.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're having to take basically 30 grams
just like
of baking soda.
And this is if you're 100 pounds?
A gram of water for every kilogram that you weigh.
This is if you're 100 pounds or 200 pounds? Or
for every kilogram you weigh. So let's say you weigh.
So you're 100.
So you said you were about 215 pounds or whatever.
Yeah, let's say round it up to 220. You're 100 kilograms.
Yeah.
You're taking like a tablespoon of baking soda.
No, like it's more than that.
How many is it? 30 grams.
Well, it's a weight, right?
Oh, right.
So, but that's like it's not an insignificant amount.
No, it isn't. And they're downing baking soda.
Yeah.
It's one of those dumbass things that's like.
No, but it improved like their performance by 0.3%. So you got to do it.
Could that be coincidental?
No, like it's been a known thing apparently since like 2002. They're just improving the amount and the timing.
We call it the post 9/11 boom. Baking soda became all the rage in the weightlifting industry.
I think it was more like rowing.
Rowing?
Yeah. Whoa!
The mic just fell over.
That didn't work well.
I'll just cut the audio. All right, the mic's back up again. I don't blame myself for that.
I don't know what happened. It's really odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of weird things that people are looking into.
So we have to talk about hypothetical animal fights. And my...
You mean you fighting a deer and how you're gonna lose?
I don't think I will.
Why don't you think you're gonna lose to a deer?
Because it's got a spindly little leg and I'll break it.
No, the thing about like they all have really lean muscle and it's all fast twitch.
It's all fast twitch. Yeah, I'm faster than it. All right, I'll bob and weave and juke it and punch it.
Why don't you go down to Oak Bay, right? Take the number 11 bus, walk around Uplands until you find a deer, and then charge at it.
Okay, first of all, deer are more scared of me than I am of them. And of course they are. I've been killing...
Not in Uplands.
Which deer are we talking about? Because we have to establish what deer. If this is like a male deer in the rut, you're messing with like a horny male deer, it's gonna stab you.
No, I'm just talking about like any growing deer in Uplands. You're toast.
I could probably beat a female deer. What about a cow? I wonder if I could beat a cow.
Cows are huge.
How big are... Like, I've seen people wrestle cows, but they're very docile. They're remarkably... we've bred them to be very wimpy and docile.
Yeah, but also if they ever kick you, right? So, when I was learning...
Well, it's all about
learning to, like, how to butcher a sheep. The guy who was teaching me, professional butcher, he was saying, and one of the things you have to be really careful about when you kill a cow is that once it's dead, it doesn't kick you and kill you. Because if it kicks you, you're toast.
Those things, we've bred them to be muscular. I feel like it's all about the side approach. You've got to come at it from the side because they have no lateral stability.
Well,
their legs are like maybe 1.5 feet apart. If this is like a big steer, if it's a female cow, you just got to push it onto its side, and it's 800 pounds. It falls over and it breaks all of its ribs. It's cow tipping.
That sounds like a great sport.
There are some stupid sports out there, like in Kazakhstan, they have dead goat polo.
Do you know what really annoyed me? So I don't know how much of the Olympics you've been watching, but it doesn't really matter. So in bobsled,
yeah,
right, which I already think is a really stupid.
It's not a sport.
Any of the sled ones are really stupid.
They're stupid from like a logistical perspective. Like in skeleton, you're basically sliding down at a billion miles an hour.
I want to break my neck
on a cookie sheet.
Anyway, but the bobsled, they were saying there's this woman, and she's at the Olympics from the U.S. She's a track and field Olympic competitor as well.
Yeah.
She has only been doing bobsled for 6 months. You should not be able to be at an Olympic level in any sport after 6 months.
Well, in 2010, the guy who won skeleton got gold medal. He had been doing skeleton for a couple weeks.
Yeah, see, you should not be able... I want you to have to spend like at least 10 years practicing your sport.
Yeah, like if you go
to be at the Olympics. Not to win it, to be at the Olympics.
If you spend 6 months train for 6 months and get put in a boxing ring, you're gonna get embarrassed. You're gonna get brain damage. That's what's gonna happen.
If you spend 6 months practicing curling, you're gonna get destroyed.
Yeah.
Right? If you spend 6 months doing it, if we look at any of the three racing boats at the Olympics, right? So rowing, sprint canoe, and sprint kayak, you won't even leave the dock because you will flip in those boats. You will roll over at the dock in those boats after 6 months.
Have you ever seen the movie Cool Runnings?
No.
Has John Candy in it. It's based off of a true story, as I understand it. A bunch of Kenyans who were runners, and the guy figured out these guys have really long legs. They can run fast for the beginning little opening bit. That's it. They're bobsledders, and they're from a place where there isn't snow.
No,
They're in Cape Town. They're making all their water into snow.
I don't like any of the sledding events. Also, just from a safety standpoint.
People die in those all the time. Like,
it's terrifying.
Like,
there was an accident. Fortunately, she was fine, but there was an accident, I think, last night, or like yesterday at the Olympics.
How fast?
Where she flipped out, it spun out of control, flipped over.
On the bobsled or on skeleton? Because it was a guy in skeleton.
I think it was luge.
Luge.
Right, they got 3. They have 3 different competitions.
Correct. Wait, skeleton, one of them is when you're facing forward.
Skeleton's facing forward.
Yeah, so you're on your stomach.
About to get your neck broken.
You gotta head first, strongest part of the human body, lift with your back.
Luge with your C4 and C3 only.
Luge is when you're on your back. There are some non-Canadian watching this. What the hell is he talking about, luge? It's just French. Is it when you're on your back, and bobsled is when you're on a tube going a kabillion miles an hour.
No, I think it's just the thing so that the track and field people have something to do for every 2 years instead of every 4.
Probably.
Basically. Also for people who really, no offense to the people who are doing it, but you're probably not the smartest if you're willing to get on a thing and go head first down a tunnel.
There was a guy in 2010, that was the last Olympics that I really cared about.
Who died,
he snapped his neck.
Olympics,
before the Olympics, he got hit by a pole and his neck broke.
And they couldn't, change the course, because the courses are really hard to set up.
Well, it's ice. It's all ice.
Yeah. And then, I think last year, just some kids in Calgary died.
I think it was...
1 or 2?
The beginning, it would have been 2016. Yeah, it was the beginning of 2016, and a few kids in Calgary died.
Yeah, because they snuck onto a course and just, slid down and...
They didn't open the gate.
Yeah.
So basically...
Oh, right, that's what happened.
You're going real fast.
But it's kind of like... They just snuck onto the whole course.
It's kind of like running full speed into a cheese grater. That's what it is. It's using a cheese grater as a slip and slide. All right, or trying to like kick a wood chipper. It's just a horrible decision. So yeah, they all died and got like they had to have been like mashed together.
I don't think they all died.
Pretty sure it was like 3 of them. I remember my teacher was all sad and I was laughing hysterically in the class about it just because the mental image of these people getting smushed through the cheese grater thing, kind of like a meat grinder.
You have to think there are other winter sports that we can come up with, right? Or you can lose certain summer sports that aren't really. It doesn't really matter, right?
Well, there are some.
You can fight whether it's the winter or the summer.
Exactly.
You're inside.
Well, there are some badass winter sports like that one where basically it's like a 90-degree. It's like a half pipe, and you basically just go down, come up the other side on skis.
Yeah.
You've got a little chasm.
Yeah.
And then you spin and twirl in the air like you're a goddamn maniac. These people are doing like octuple backflips.
Yeah.
It is insane.
I can respect that. I cannot respect sliding down a tube in another tube.
And they do it so like effortlessly. They just move their arm up and somehow they're spinning. Like I used to do gymnastics before I got fat. And all you had to do if you wanted to rotate was just turn your head 90 degrees and for some reason your entire body rotates with it. It's kind of strange.
We're probably going to get kicked out of this room.
Probably. Want to call it a show?
Sure.
All right. That was, I don't really have a name for this, but episode 1 of this. Steroids and me kicking a deer's ass.